Well, Drew Brees, of the many accomplishments, I said this a couple hours ago. In my lifetime, there has never been a quarterback who has overcome as many obstacles as Drew Brees. He's not 6'5". He tore up his knee in high school. He went to a kind of a historically running conference, cold weather basketball school, Purdue. Then he plays in San Diego, gets hurt. And then Miami won't clear him. Then he goes to New Orleans and Katrina, and Sean Payton at one point has to leave for a season. Obstacle, 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 obstacle. And you look up, and he's breaking Brett Favre and Peyton Manning's records. That's why I've said I call him one of the great eight players that's ever played that position that I've ever seen in my life. Impossible not to root for, and Drew has been kind enough to spend a few minutes with us today. Drew, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great, Colin. How are you?
Great. You know what I thought was, and it really speaks to you, instead of last night coming out and saying, I wanted to prove people wrong, you came out and said, this record proves so many people right. And I thought that was a remarkable thing to say because it'd be very easy to go the other way. And you wanted to talk about breaks and support. Go back. If I said to you, NFL, your first big break, what was it?
Well, honestly, what I learned through the draft process very quickly was that it was more important to end up in the right place, in the right situation, with the right team, the right system, the right coaching staff, as opposed to just getting drafted as high as you possibly can. I mean, I think that's a lot of guys coming out. That is their intent and their goal is to get drafted as high as they possibly can. And yet, at the end of the day, it's about being in the right situation. And I felt like being drafted to the San Diego Chargers in the second round was the best place for me because I had the chance to be an understudy to Doug Flutie, who was one of my childhood role models, the guy that I looked up to, an undersized guy who just constantly overcame the odds, and being around guys like Junior Seau and Rodney Harrison and other great leaders there in San Diego, around a coach like Marty Schottenheimer, I felt like that helped me build the foundation by which I would build my NFL career.
And then you end up with Sean Payton, who, like a Sean McVay. None of us knew who Sean Payton was. We didn't know who Sean McVay was. When did you realize with Sean Payton, wow, this could be the perfect coach for me?
I'll remember forever the first time Sean called me. I was literally in a Arby's drive-thru in Birmingham, Alabama. I was there rehabbing. I just had my surgery with Dr. James Andrews, 2 months post-op. Could barely lift my arm still above my shoulder. And here's this, coach calling me, fresh from the Cowboys organization, getting the job in New Orleans. I mean, I don't think he knew exactly what he was taking on at the time, and yet he was telling me that I was his guy. And listen, my confidence took a hit, after that injury, just because as much as I felt like, hey, God had a plan and I was going to come back stronger. I mean, listen, I had my doubts. That was a very daunting time for me. When I was told, hey, 8 months until you're able to throw, and then 2 years before you really feel normal again. I mean, that was overwhelming. Yet here was a guy looking me in the eye and saying, you're my guy, and you're going to lead this organization.
What's amazing about you is you literally, when I think New Orleans is the perfect place for you. The offense, your offense is progressive and smart and crazy and fun. And New Orleans, Mardi Gras, crazy and fun. And people have doubted New Orleans. Could they come back? There is this link between you and the city in which you play. And I think that 100 years from now, I mean, do you ever think about that in a weird way, New Orleans, the city, was perfect for you?
There's no question. There's no question. God had a plan. I felt like it was a calling to come to New Orleans. We needed New Orleans as much as you could say maybe New Orleans needed somebody to believe in them too. And so it was the perfect fit. It was the perfect match. In a way, we were both trying to rebuild, right? Rebuild our lives, our career. There was so many unknowns, and yet I just felt like we were all leaning on each other. And the most amazing thing I think my wife Brittany and I experienced when we came on our recruiting visit, so to speak, in New Orleans was that every person that we met really didn't say anything about football. What they said was, thank you for wanting to be a part of this community and considering New Orleans. And I think you realize very quickly that New Orleans is a special place. It's a unique place. So many of the people who live here have lived here for generations and generations. So it's in their blood. There's a spirit here. There's a culture here that's unlike any other.
One of the challenges you face now as a father, a husband, 39 years old, you are now surrounded often by 22-year-olds. There is an age gap. And it doesn't matter if you're a CEO or a high school principal. You have to bridge that gap. You have to relate to young players who are often backs, receivers, and offensive linemen. How have you done it? Because when I watch you, you're going to be a 40-year-old guy. You're surrounded by kids, and they look up to you, and they listen to you. And I don't think that's easy. And you have bridged it. Do you think about that?
Yeah, it is unique because I definitely feel like, I come from a different generation. In most cases, guys in the locker room are 22, 23, 24. So I'm 15, 16, 17 years older than a lot of these guys. I like to think that being around them rejuvenates me. It keeps me young. I feel a great sense of responsibility, each and every year to come in and take the new, draft class or the young free agents that come in and you're kind of starting from scratch, the opportunity to build up the offense and recreate the identity of your team again. And I feel like I learn as much from them as I hope they learn from me. And, I don't know. I think having three young boys too, as I'm talking to you, I'm in the whirlpool at the Saints facility with my boys. They're running around. One of them's naked right now, jumping in the whirlpool. And they're just like, they keep me young too. They keep me up to speed on all like the latest Fortnite dances and all that other stuff too. So I feel like I'm pretty hip to the game, even though I'm kind of an old guy now. But no, listen, I love the locker room. I love being around the guys. I know that a lot of the guys who have left the game most recently, retired guys that I know and am good friends with, they say, man, the thing I miss the most is the locker room, being around the guys, and then game day. Those are the things you really can't replace, once you leave the game. And so I'm just trying to enjoy the moment, enjoy every second of it.
Well, we've enjoyed every second of you, Drew Brees. 10 minutes on a busy day. Enjoy your family. Thanks for joining our show, buddy.
Thanks, Colin.
Drew Brees. He's great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.